This is football Primetime. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Billy Dean and AJ, talking a little bit about football, but enough of my opening monologue nonsense. Let's get straight to it. Let's talk about the Jets. Go ahead, Billy.
Oh,
You just set me right up for that one. Jeez.
Yeah, you like that transition?
Yeah, obviously a bunch of good games last week, minus the Jets one, of course, because, the Jets organization is just flat out cursed. And it's a disgrace. And, they need to fire the owner. I know you can't fire an owner, but they need to get rid of the Johnsons because they've been a stain on the underpants of this team. Not that the team's done anything well themselves, but once again, Belichick strikes and he destroys the Jets and he destroys rookie quarterbacks. And I guess the thing that's more frustrating, I went to school in Boston. I have Patriots fans, friends, and it's perfect that his probable worst game of his career is against the Patriots, and it's 4 interceptions. It's Sam Darnold seeing ghosts against the Patriots. It's Mark Sanchez running into the ass of Brandon Moore against the Patriots. It's everything bad in the Jets' history has happened against the Patriots. And that's, I think, the most frustrating thing. If he did this last week and totally just botched everything against the Panthers, all right, it was a bad game. It is what it is. But no, it's against the Patriots where it's just amplified more and more, and they have Tom Brady, and they have Mac Jones, and everything looks sunshine and roses, and we have a bunch of sticks up our ass because this team continually shits the bed, and I'm sorry, it's just frustrating. It continually shits the bed in the biggest moments of when I wanted Sam to do well against the Patriots. I wanted everybody to do well against the Patriots. That's the one team that I want to beat, that I want to, I don't care if we lose the Dolphins the rest of our freaking lives or the stupid Bills. It's just this team continually gets it wrong against the franchise that bothers me the most. And I can't stand it. It's so annoying. And it's always doom and gloom with this stupid team. And it's so frustrating. I don't know how many times to say this, right? Like, Sam Darnold comes back last week and he, does very well against the Jets, which we all figured that was going to happen. He was going to have 350 yards. He was going to have, 3 TDs, look like a monster because it's against the Jets. But just when I'm thinking, all right, that's fine. Zach Wilson was decent in the first game. Like, he had a couple mistakes, but that's what it is, a rookie. No, he comes and has the worst freaking game almost of all time. He had 2 interceptions in his first 2 throws. Awesome. He was 100% to the other team in his first 2 throws.
I will say, though, real quick, those first 2 interceptions I don't think were as bad as the last 2.
The first one was bad.
The first one was a tip. The first one was a tip, which all the throws were high.
But in that one, he was thrown into a window where there were actually every single freaking interception he threw into a window where he should not have thrown the ball.
Yeah.
And the first one he throws it, and there's 3 guys around him, including J.C. Jackson, or I don't know if J.C. Jackson got a bunch of picks, of course, because God forbid. But the first pick, was the off the hands. The second pick was through the hands. The third pick, he just threw to a stationary Patriot 20 yards away from any other Jet. The guy just stood there and caught the ball. It's like me and AJ throwing catch at a tailgate. You couldn't have
that easy
thrown to another receiver easier. And the fourth one, all right, fine. Like, by that time, he pretty much gave up. Yeah, he pretty much gave up. But Sam Darnold, right? His first freaking game ever has the pick 6. And I can deal with that because it wasn't against the Patriots. But then he goes against the Patriots and he sees ghosts, and that's one of the Jets things all over again. You're like, how the F every time this team has a bad blunder, it's against the Patriots? It is. Every one.
It's a curse.
It is. Yeah, they're cursed. Maybe it's me. Maybe I should just not be a Jet fan, or just not. I'll just follow fantasy, and I'll just be a person that roots for players.
Roots for your own team.
Can I make an observation here? I have no vested interest in the New York Jets. I have none. Grew up in New Jersey. Watched the Jets and Giants. It used to be the Jets was on 1 p.m. and then the Giants at 4 p.m. or vice versa. And then you add in a couple Monday Night Football, then Sunday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football, and then there's football. Let's go back to the beginning. All right, I'm going back to my childhood. I'm a little bit older than you guys, but I remember that back in the 80s, Ken O'Brien was the guy. And then you watch that show, The Wonder Years, Kevin Arnold wearing a Jets Namath varsity jacket. I didn't like Kevin Arnold. I didn't really like that show. And, it turned me off with the Jets. Anyway, so I'm lucky in that respect. And there was a guy named LT that came on board, right? And
perfect time.
But the Jets had the sack exchange. They had Mark Gastineau. They had Marty Lyons. Yep. Okay, these names are very familiar names. These guys, Joe Klecko. Okay, I don't know how he lined up, not line up in the neutral zone, but the way he, his stance, if you remember, his butt was like towards the offensive lineman. The way he stood, but. Joe Walton, I think he just recently passed away, if I'm not mistaken. Joe Walton. I mean, those teams offensively it was awesome. Al Toon, then the concussions came, and then it started to fall apart. And then you have Tony Eason, Browning Nagel, and then they try to interject. Basically transplant what the Giants had with Parcells. Then the winning started to happen, right? And you can't fault Parcells. They were in the AFC Championship game. Vinny Testaverde. And then the Tom Tupa. And then the following year, Tom Tupa and, replacing Testaverde. And but somehow that led to the Patriots getting Tom Brady. I don't know how that worked, but it was just whatever. Chad Pennington. I'm going through the list of pain. Mark Sanchez, Ray Lucas.
No, the pretty much the pain starts. It was Pennington in 07. Then obviously he had all the injury histories, right? And then it goes Brett Favre. And then right from there, you're like, uh-oh. It goes Mark Sanchez, Kellen Clemens got a start in there too. It was Greg McElroy. It was Geno Smith and him getting his face punched in by IK. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick, who actually, he has the career I think he's the career Jets leader for passing yards. That's how awful this franchise is.
No way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he has the most passing yards, team career passing records. Yards is maybe I'm pretty sure he has
maybe like in a season.
Game started, it's Namath, and then wins is Namath as well. Passing yards in a season, in a season. Sorry.
Okay.
In a season, it's him because Mark Sanchez, I think actually has the career passing yards record for the Jets. That's how awesome this franchise is. Joe. Oh, sorry, no, that's not right. That's right. It is Namath, and then it's Ken O'Brien. But just first season, it's stupid. Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic. But then from Fitzpatrick, right, you go with Josh McCown for a whole year and Bryce Petty, who was terrible. And then Sam, and it's Josh McCown, it's Luke Falk, it's Trevor Siemian, it's Joe Flacco, and then Zach Wilson.
Geno Smith somewhere?
Yeah, no, Geno was before Fitzy.
Okay.
Before Fitzmagic.
So
him and Michael
the point
Vick.
I'm trying to make, you guys as Jets fans are kind of screwed here because the ownership change came when Leon Hess passed away. Leon Hess's problem was a happy problem. You had an owner that wanted to win so badly, but he kind of sped up the process. And I don't blame him because he was just getting old. He wanted to see it before he died. Unfortunately, he didn't. But he sped up the process. Now you have an owner of this conglomerate called Johnson and Johnson, J&J.
Jackass.
Yeah, and again, it goes with there is no structure. There's no attention to winning. If that even makes sense. Like, what's the goal here? It's almost like it's just a yearly thing. It's like going to a picnic, yearly picnic. I'll go to the Jets game. We know what to expect.
Yeah. So I think for them it's just a moneymaker. I mean, they know that they're going to sell tickets to companies.
It's cool.
To fans.
It's cool to own an NFL franchise. It's a cool thing to do. I mean, you are an elite company. There's only 32 football franchises, 32 owners. Like, that's an awesome thing. Any sports franchise, it's awesome to own. And this jackass owns them. Well, the two jackasses own them, and they just it's a money thing, and it's a power and prestige. Just like, what do you want to go to England to be an ambassador? Like, it's a power thing, and they don't really care. I mean, it just that's the one thing with Dolan. Sorry, go ahead, Sam.
No, have Jet fans actually start chanting "Woody must go"? Have they done that?
I'm sure they have. Mean, well, didn't someone fly a plane over the?
Just sell the team.
Yeah, I thought there was something about selling the team, especially when maybe it was when he had the whole scandal in England about how he was a little bit misogynistic or whatever it was, whatever he had over there. No, but for the one thing. Dolan, right? He meddles in the Knicks and he sometimes meddles in the stupid Jets. I mean, the Rangers. But at least he spends money and I don't know if he does try. He tries to have a winning franchise, and he stupidly hires dumb people. That's just him being an idiot. But at least he tries. These two buffoons, I don't think they really try. I think they're honestly. They just like owning a franchise, and that's pretty much it. And they have to abide by the fans every 3 years and fire the coach and fire the GM and bring someone new, or else they'll really revolt. And it's just a never-ending cycle of bullshit. And that's just. And there was a lot of positives in that game on Sunday. The defense looked very good, not world beaters, but they played a good scheme for the Jets.
Are you talking about? Really? I didn't think they played that.
Yeah, no, they didn't. AJ, for 26 points against the Pats, where a lot of it was poor field position because Wilson kept turning the ball over, and they got beat on a bad run by Damian Harris. And,
I don't know that run.
The last two, it was bad. It was bad. But for the first 2 weeks, I was expecting a tire fire, and they've played much better than I thought. And you see in the wide receivers there is some upside. Obviously, Davis through his hands, and he wasn't at his best. The running backs, I think Michael Carter averaged over 5 yards a carry. He was actually a lot better than I thought he would be. There are some bright spots on this team, and I think actually the play calling by Michael Floor, which I was critical in the first game, he tried to run heavy. He tried, you can't help the coordinator can't help stupid, right? Like, Wilson just tried to trust his arm a couple of times, and it obviously failed him a lot. And there are some positives. I like Saleh, and there's some things to look forward to, but it just, the cursedness has it. For me, it's the stupid Patriots aspect, and then it's just in general this franchise. It's not anything more than just a generality of being a stupid Jet fan. Which, man, I wish my dad was smart enough to make me a Giant fan. That would have been fantastic. I mean, not that Sam has really a lot to hang on. The last 5 years, I think the Giants are actually the worst record franchise since Mr. Gettleman took over, but at least you guys have some positives. I mean, you've dumbface Eli Manning, but Velcro shoes, but I mean, he's still won you 2 franchise Super Bowls. He beat Tom Brady, which I've never been able to say that. Maybe I think 1 year with Mark Sanchez when he was a rookie, and he miraculously went to the AFC Championship 2 years in a row, and that was it. And then Rex, bowling about, I'm not kissing, Belichick's rings. Just shut up and at the time I like that, but you're looking back at it, you angered the beast, and just Belichick, the one thing he wants to do, and I'm pretty positive this is honestly the case, he wants to beat the Jets because they screwed him, the whole Parcells thing and the story about how he became the Patriots coach. He just didn't want to follow in Parcells' footsteps, and that was the whole reason that he wanted out, and then Parcells was like, no, it's going to be your team, and, whatever it was. But he hates the Jets, and he's going to stick it to him every chance he gets, and that just seems to happen to the Jets every single time.
Was it ownership? Was it ownership with the Jets?
There's like a lot of things that happened with the Belichick thing, and it was all he just was so fed up with the organization, and it figures, right? Like my organization does something so mean or so bad to the best coach in NFL history, and I have to deal with it for my whole freaking life. Oh, so I was sorry. So just quickly on my notes, Fitzpatrick actually leads the team in touchdowns for a season with 31. Testaverde at 29. He just came close to beating the yards record. Namath has it at 4,007 yards. We've only had one 4,000-yard passer, and Fitzpatrick has 3,900. So, yeah, still terrible.
And Namath was with less games.
Yeah, Namath was in 14 games. Yeah. I mean, AJ, go ahead. Talk about the game. I mean, it's very, very depressing. Yes. No, but like I said, there were some positives in that game. You know, the quarterback seemed, Wilson seemed to have his worst game of all time. Hopefully it's the worst game of all time for him. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and, Mac Jones looks like a steady quarterback. And, I'm sure if these two switches switched, Mac Jones was our team, he would have had the worst game. And then I guarantee that Zach Wilson would have thrown 5 touchdowns and just destroyed our team. Because that's just what happens.
No, I mean, it just, you hope that Wilson learns from this. You hope it's his worst game of, this year of his career.
It better be.
I think that run put a sour taste in my mouth, for the defense. Just watching guys try to punch the ball out and not tackle. But yeah, I think we've talked about the gangrene.
I like Marshall on Facebook Live. Maybe the Jets fans need to lower their expectations. They can't be any lower. I mean, my expectations are at foot level. I mean, I'm always expecting the Jets to get slaughtered, and I'm just looking for some semblance. I'll take Ken O'Brien like those seasons. I'll take a 500 season. It's that bad. But yes, the Giants, Marshall has to bring on the Giants hate among the Jets hate. So Sam, actually, if you were around, you want to quickly talk about the Giants game. It was tough on that Thursday. We had talked about it. Yeah, it was a good game. They just kept going back and forth. Obviously, Washington with that defense did not play the way I thought they would. I really thought they would give them much more of a defensive showdown.
That line has not impressed me this year yet. With such talent too. It's crazy.
Chase Young is so good, and we could talk about him. But you talk about a player that is should be one of the best defensive ends in football, if not the best. He just has not been that kind of player, and it kind of reminds me of Jadeveon Clowney, where he's very good in the run, but for some reason he just can't get to that quarterback. And I mean, it was a fun game though. They seem to go at it, and I think I kind of enjoyed it. I'm sure you did, right? It was 30-29. The Giants are 0-2, which stinks.
It was a great game. There's 2 big calls. Of course they won against the Giants. With the hold on the run,
game winning.
which I thought. Why am I? Daniel Jones played really well. He was smart with the football. Good. He was great with the running. Hey, Mac.
That's many.
Oh, but yeah. I mean, he was great with the football. He didn't fumble it. He was running great, made smart decisions. And it's of course a holding call that takes back a 50-yard touchdown run by him. And then of course the offsides, which
the NFL came back and was like, sorry, whoops, our bad, and that's got to piss off Giants fans, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel Jones, he might be. I know the Lamar Jackson obviously runs and he's dynamic, but he has 10 to 15 runs a game and he picks up 90 yards. Right? Daniel Jones had the 9 carries and 95 yards, but they have the Giants. Offensive package always seems to have 6 designed runs for him, and they're always very good design plays. They seem to always get good positive yards out of there. He, just miraculous. Not miraculously, he's a very talented athlete, but he seems to pick up very good plays and very good yards. And Saquon obviously, looking a little better. 13 carries, 57, but I don't think he really caught anything. He's still coming back from injuries, so hopefully he comes keeps building on that. But Kenny Golladay with the shouting match, and he said it was at the offensive coordinator Jason Garrett. But Sterling Shepard seems to be the guy there as that wide receiver one, and they have good solid pieces for him.
I said, which is the surprising thing, right? Because you go out and get Kenny Golladay, and he's been a no-show, and Sterling Shepard's been playing fantastic, so far in the season, and I'm really surprised about Daniel Jones and how well he's been in these past two games. Not turning over the football. He had I think he had one fumble against the Broncos, but I mean, for the most part, he's played really well. It's encouraging that defense has played. I think pretty well. The Broncos offense last week, it was I think a sneaky good offense. And Washington, has some firepower. Obviously, they didn't have Fitzpatrick, but Heineke's a pretty good, serviceable QB, and they have a great talent there. So, I thought. God,
sorry, I was just gonna say, Ojulari, their draft pick from this year with the sack, he played pretty well. That defense, you were saying, it is very. I think they're legit option to be a top 10 defense this year. James Bradbury is a very good corner. Adoree Jackson, you have Jabril Peppers in the back. Leonard Williams. We talked about Ojulari. Xavier McKinney as the safety option too. I'm trying to think of who's their big tackle in front. Dexter Lawrence. They have a lot of guys that are very talented players. I love Blake Martinez, especially because we play IDP, but he's a tackle machine. It's just you look at this team and I really do think that they're growing in a positive direction, and the franchise is always in a positive direction. And that's, I guess, where just the Jets-Giants thing always pisses me off, is that it can't be the same way the other way. But, there are a lot of positives. And, it wasn't must-win for the Giants. It was more of a they were definitely looking
I do think that was a big
better.
game. I do think that was a big game for them, especially just because of their schedule in the next, coming games. And, it's going to be tough for them finding wins. I mean, obviously they're playing Atlanta, this week coming up. But I mean, if I go back real quick to, the teams that they're going to play. So they play the Saints, which, after the Falcons, Saints, I mean, this past week looked terrible. I mean, back to famous Jameis with his interceptions and turnovers. But then you're playing the Cowboys after that, which with that offense, I mean, they're putting up points like crazy, and their defense played pretty well last week, Cowboys. And you got the Rams, who is going to be tough, and the Panthers, who've been surprising too, I think, offensively and defensively this year for us. So it's going to be a tough few weeks for them. So, obviously they need the big win against Atlanta this week.
Yeah, and I think they can do that. The Atlanta franchise with their offense has been, kind of finding themselves. Obviously Julio Jones is a big time player for them throughout his career, but you figured that with Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley, and they have Justin Gate, they have some decent players in that on that team and that offense. You figured that would translate, but it just hasn't. And then you look at their defense, and it's just hasn't been as good as when Raheem Morris found all that talent last year. Sam, what do you got on your Giants?
Well, at least Daniel Jones showed up. I thought he played very well last week against the Washington football team. I almost said it. And, overall, who's yelling at who? Oh, Galladay's yelling at Garrett and not Jones and all. I mean, all those shenanigans. Look, Giants are 0-2. Losing Nick Gates, I mean, that was a horrible injury. I don't know what's in Washington, because it just seems like those type of injuries happen. Doesn't
field
matter
is
what
cursed.
field. Yeah, and I'm hoping that he can come back, but that's definitely near career threatening injury.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's a tough one. Shane Lemieux, another guy that's out for the season now, right?
yeah, but I think one of the biggest issues that the Giants have is Saquon Barkley looks average for the most part.
Well, so I do think he played well. He played a lot better than he did in
First
week
week.
one.
Yep.
He got a lot more touches. He's I think they're kind of ramping him up more and more. And it looks like he's trusting his knee more. Just from the eye test. So I think it's going to still take him a few weeks, to get going to what he was, but I'm not worried about him long term.
I mean, you got to hope that he gets to where he was.
I think the timing of his injury is terrible because he's really in a contract year right now. So, you got to think with Saquon, judging by what happened to Adrian Peterson, it's going to probably take it about 4 to 5 games before he can really get the flow going. Where, if you remember Peterson's 2,000-yard season, I think it was right off of that injury. Everyone loved his effort, but at some point, things started to click again. The hole started to get bigger. The speed, the breakaway speed, and trusting that knee. But I think the expectations with Saquon should really be break him in game by game. Eventually, he'll get there. But it's just frustrating because we all know what Saquon can do. Yeah. And it's probably frustrating with him. But the offensive line at the same time still needs a little work.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things I think, right, with the Vikings back then and this line for the Giants. I mean, the Vikings' offensive line was always very good. They always seemed to have bruisers and maulers, and they could open lines for Peterson. This team just doesn't seem to have that at all. I mean, it keeps happening where you see these guys getting manhandled, from Andrew Thomas to their guards that are coming in injury. Just different things happening where they can't seem to open up holes, and that hurts a running back that already is hurt, and he's trying to get better and he's trying to get more explosive and stuff. But yeah, that line is real bad, and it's definitely got to get better. But you do see him trending in a better direction, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They better win on Eli Manning Day. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about Daniel Jones one bit. I'm not worried about Saquon long term. I just hope that Giants fans are just a little bit more patient because they got a decent team here. The one guy that sort of disappeared is Blake Martinez.
Yeah. He hasn't been the tackling machine he normally is, and I don't know if it's an injury or anything, but yeah, I was telling AJ, I mean, I always liked Blake Martinez. I mean, at the Packers, he was a great, linebacker, and, you look here, last year, I think he was really good, and, let's see, maybe there's some sort of a small injury or something. I mean, obviously the guy that's really disappeared is Evan Ingram, who sounds like he might be back this week, but, who knows what's going to happen with him. That's one of those guys, man. And I was also listening to another show, and they're always talking about the Jets and tight ends, and they never seem to have a tight end either. It's just it always is terrible. Dustin Keller and Jason Morrow. Jesus. And obviously Chris Herndon. Yeah. Never anything good. All right. Well, let's talk about good football. Sam, you want to talk about
Penn State? Let's talk about Penn State.
Go
ahead. How great was that whiteout game? How great was that whiteout game?
Just fantastic.
So good that I didn't watch it.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Winter Classic. With the NHL, you got 110,000 people, or I'm sorry, 109,957 or whatever it was. A great atmosphere. It's great to see college football starting to ramp up. We saw that in Wisconsin that first week where the students were jumping around and it didn't phase Penn State, but that's besides the point. But I think that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's one game or one stadium I love to go to is Wisconsin, where they do the jump around and like everybody's just moshing. That sounds like a lot of fun.
You know what, you boys? One of these days, we should save our pennies and blow it all on one whiteout game. Maybe Penn State versus Ohio State, or Penn State versus Michigan, or whatever.
Penn State versus Purdue. Be a great game to go to.
Yeah, we could do that. But one whiteout game, just to experience it. Just to experience it. The tailgating. I mean, this is what Penn State's like. You get off of Route 80. There's about 10 to 13 mile stretch from Route 80 to Happy Valley. 5:30 a.m. in the morning. That entire stretch on the onto the shoulder, they're all RVs, ready to get into the parking lot. They start their tailgating, and they start, Nittanyville, Paternoville, whatever you want to call it. That starts on a Tuesday for a Saturday game. And I think that's great.
Not bad.
And I got to show you guys that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was just saying that the stadium I really want to go. I want to go to the Big House because I heard that's a lot of fun to go watch a game at. And I think Tuscaloosa, see a Bama game would be pretty fun too.
Rose Bowl.
But yeah, I'll definitely go Penn State. A little Rose Bowl.
I also want to go down to South Carolina.
Yeah, Gamecocks.
Yeah,
that's not Death Valley, is it?
No.
It's Clemson.
Death Valley's LSU and Clemson, right? Both of them, they consider themselves Death Valley, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Not bad. All right, so a couple injuries. Back to pros, obviously. By the way, AJ, how did Purdue do?
We lost. I was like,
sorry,
23-13, something like that. No, it was Notre Dame. Come on.
It's all right. The UMass is real terrible. So, Danny Amendola, thigh injury, Terrence Mitchell, concussion, Tua with the broken ribs, and he's going to be out this week. You're looking at a lovely Jacoby Brissett week. Andy Dalton with his knee injury, which I don't think they've officially ruled him out yet, have they?
They haven't yet, but
it's looking like
it's trending. It's trending towards it.
Yeah. Jarvis Landry, who he's played every single game in his entire career, he goes out with a knee injury. Yeah. It's sad to see. I do like Jarvis Landry, so that sucks. Malcolm Butler, Bradley Chubb out with his ankle, and it looks like he's probably done for the year.
Yep.
Tyrell Williams with a concussion. We talked about Okudah. Zadarius Smith, back injury, and him and Preston Smith, that defense runs off those two. So we'll see what happens there. Carson Wentz, I think he's a questionable moniker for this week, and
both sprained ankles. Crazy.
Yeah, both sprained ankles. So it looks like maybe either Jacob Eason, or I'm not even sure who's going to play there. JPB with a shoulder injury, and then Dalvin Cook also possibly out. So. For you fantasy owners, that's a big thing for Alexander Madison. Yeah. And then last one is, which I don't think AJ wrote on here, Tyrod Taylor out. And it looks like we will be seeing David Mills as a first.
Davis.
Yeah, Davis. Did I say David?
Yep.
Yeah, Davis Mills, third-round pick. Stanford, him of 11 total college games, is going to come in and start against not the Browns. He's playing. Who are they playing? They play
the Panthers tonight.
Yeah, the Panthers. That's right. It's tonight's game. Carolina at Houston. Carolina 7.5 point favorite. I would think they'd be, much more than that. But I would say the early returns, right, suggest that the Gase curse is real, because you have. First, Ryan Tannehill gets away from Matty Gase, turns into a top 10 passer in Tennessee. Then Sam Darnold looks like a whole new man in Carolina. He smokes a pretty good Saints defense for 300 yards and the 2 touchdowns in week 2. And he's looked overall better, more confident than with the Jets, which I absolutely expected. He opened it up a little more in the Saints than in week 1. I like a lot of the players that he's got thrown the defense has played great. I think they're actually the only team, and this is more of a fantasy thing, but I think they're the only team that's been positive or 10 or more points each week the last 2 weeks. Their defense has been that good. They've also played terrible teams, but
True.
Sam Darnold, comeback player of the year, so we'll see if that happens. And they could be a contender.
Yeah, no, it's crazy to think about. We talking about the Panthers, 2-0. Although they did play the Jets week 1, but I mean, everybody thought the Saints would be a lot better with Jameis throwing. The big thing was the turnovers, but they have a great defense, so I didn't really think that this offense would be as productive as it's been. And I mean, the Texans. See, I think I might take Houston to cover. They've been covering.
Yeah,
they've been covering, dude.
Yeah,
they've been playing pretty well.
I don't know.
I still think they kind of. I mean, maybe they don't air it out as much, but
if this was I'd say if this was maybe 9.5, 10 points, I would say the covering looks possible. 7.5, I think they got them on this one.
So I mean, so I don't think they have as much tape. I mean, obviously they have Davis Mills playing for, I think it was like 2 quarters, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
He had a touchdown, had the interception. So they got some tape on him, but I still think he's relatively new. I mean, they might look towards college tape and stuff like that, but
yeah, they need to run.
I think it's be
run.
Yeah, yep. So we'll see what happens there. I do think the Panthers win, but I do say that Houston covers for sure.
All right, we'll check that out.
We'll go next. Washington at Buffalo.
Well, we both agree Panthers are winning that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Washington, Taylor Heineke, coming up big in Fitzmagic's absence. The defense hasn't been as impressive as Billy and I said before. That front line, Jamar Chase, not Jamar Chase. Why am I forgetting his name here?
Who you talking about? Sorry.
Defensive end.
Chase Young?
Yeah, Chase Young. Sorry. Chase Young hasn't been as as dominant as we thought he would be. Yeah, Sweat's been pretty good. I think he had a sack or 2 last week. They've only had 1 interception, which I mean I thought they would be, like I said, more productive there. They did have the 4 sacks against the Giants last week, so maybe they're building to it. But you want to see Chase Young be more of a force. That offense I thought played pretty well against the Giants. Terry McLaurin is a freak.
Yes, just awesome,
fantastic, and Antonio Gibson's been playing well too. So I think it'll be a good game. But on the other side, the Bills, that offense I don't think has looked as what they could be. This year, the way that they were touted as being one of the best offenses in the league, they haven't looked like that at all. Josh Allen has been very inconsistent. The surprising thing was the Buffalo running game, kind of coming back with, Devin Singletary having 82 yards, touchdown, Moss only having like 20 yards, but a couple of touchdowns. So, we'll see if they can kind of get it going.
So I was just thinking about something real fast, and this is more for, you were talking about like inconsistency and stuff. There's actually a pretty cool new fantasy thing I've seen where it's Survivor League, and you actually, if you are the worst scoring team the first week, you're done. Your season's over. You don't play any more fantasy that week or that season. So what happens with you have 16 teams. Those players go into a pool, and then other people can pick them up.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I like that. So so we might have to do something like that. But so I was thinking about that. But just going back to the inconsistency for this team, right? So Buffalo, they have, the quarterback, Josh Allen. He has 179 yards. He's 2 touchdowns, the interception. But the running game actually comes out of nowhere. Moss with the 2 TDs, Singletary has the touchdown. But the Bills' defense is where it came to play, which I didn't think they did so much last week. The 1 interception, the 2 forced fumbles, the 4 sacks. Yeah. But just quickly looking back at Chase Young, I think Pro Football Focus had him in like the bottom 50 for NFL edge defenders with only 4 total pressures. I mean, that just from the
insane.
number 1 overall pick, you cannot have that. So he needs to be better. And I'm hoping that he does, because I also have him in fantasy, so that's a big positive. But yeah, I'm picking the Bills this week. I do think Washington's a very good team, but I just think the Bills right to ship here. Also,
I'd agree.
And yes, you Bills. Okay. Also, one other thing that I was thinking about, this week's matchups are awesome. There's really good matchups team wise this week. You know, obviously Bills and Washington is not it's a pretty decent matchup, right? The Chicago Cleveland, okay, it's terrible, but then you start to get to and let me get to it. Indy and Tennessee is, I think, going to be a lot of fun. It's a divisional game, so that always happens, but I think it's going to be pretty good.
I mean, it depends though if Wentz plays.
Wentz plays, yes, correct. But these were two teams that have playoff aspirations. The Chargers and Chiefs, I think, is going to be an awesome game. I don't understand how Kansas City's favored at 6.5. I mean, not that they're favored, but 6.5 seems pretty high to me. I think it's going to be close. New Orleans and New England, I think, could be a fun game. Obviously, the Atlanta and the Giants. You have Cardinals and Jacksonville, not very good. You have, there was a couple other big ones. Miami at Las Vegas, 2-0, obviously, and Miami could throw it. But Tampa and the Rams is going to be a lot of fun.
Great one.
And that's probably the best game of the week. And they're still a 425 matchup. I was really hoping they would flex into Sunday if that was possible. They don't flex that early, obviously. Seattle, Minnesota is going to be fun. Green Bay at San Fran is that night game. Which,
it's going to be a great game.
You know, could be really good. And then on Monday night, you got the Eagles and you got Dallas. And, you know, both, I think Philly is deceptively good. And I do think they take that game. We could talk about it a little later, but I think it's some good matchups.
Yeah, no, it's I'm definitely looking forward to the Tampa Rams game. You know, that's going to be a NFC hopeful, you know, championship game that we'll see in a few weeks. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great games. You know, that Green Bay 49ers game is going to be great, seeing if Rodgers can beat that defense, seeing if that cursed 49ers backfield can stay healthy. Yeah, I mean, there's a few teams / places I wouldn't want to play for. One, I wouldn't want to be a 49ers running back, and I also would not want to play on at FedEx Field either. That's two places I would not want to play.
I just won't want to play for the Jets in general. I just just wasting your career. No, but you know, pretty exciting week. Chicago at Cleveland. Why don't you take this one, bud? I mean, it's an interesting matchup. You're probably gonna have, you know, first round rookie quarterback Justin Fields. You know, it's against a team that also was one of the favorites in the AFC. Yeah, go ahead, take it.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, you know, it's gonna be most likely Justin Fields. You know, making his first career start. You know, I think he's looked decent. You know, that first game, he only had 2 or 3 throws and, you know, had the touchdown, rushing touchdown. Last week coming in relief, you know, he looked okay. I mean, he's still rookie. He's still learning. He was 6 for 13 for 60 yards, had 1 interception. He had 31 rushing yards, which is, you know, you want to get him running. You know, I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how this offense kind of goes with him as compared to Andy Dalton. You know, if they do a lot more RPOs. So, you know, it'll be interesting there. The big thing is, I think, you know, if the Bears defense can kind of cause those turnovers and things like that, like they did against Joe Burrow the other week. Yeah, I mean, you know, 3 consecutive picks off Burrow. You know, that'll be. I don't think we'll see that again. But you know, if they get, you know, a few off of Baker Mayfield, who's been pretty good so far this year. You know, with keeping the ball in Cleveland hands, so it'll be interesting to see. And I mean, on the other side, with Jarvis Landry out, OBJ is going to play apparently. So you know, they have at least one of their top dogs there for
we'll see,
you know,
how
as a wide
he does.
receiver.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, even then, you know, he's still the threat, you know, of OBJ.
Yeah.
So I think he does, you know, take some pressure off of those other guys. You know, Felton, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Austin Hooper. You know, those guys are going to look to get some more targets. And Felton and Peoples-Jones had a pretty decent game last week too. So
yeah,
and then you had the two-headed monster that's Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. I mean,
they're going to run
both
the
of them
ball.
both of them combining for 146 yards last week. I mean, that train's going to keep on going. So I think it's can the Bears defense stop Chubb and Kareem Hunt? So
which they're going to have a tough time. I know Chicago's defense plays well, but that's going to be tough. I mean, they had the 3 interceptions in a row, 3 consecutive picks. That was a lot of fun.
I do think the Browns edged them out. But it'll be a good little matchup.
Yeah, I do think also Austin Hooper is a pretty good bet for this week, especially just he seems to be the only guy that he's going to be able to throw to. I know OBJ is going to be more of a decoy. So, I have the Browns. Baltimore at Detroit. We won't go over this very far, but Baltimore 7.5-point favorite. Detroit looked okay. I mean, not this week against the Packers. They got slaughtered, but I mean, they just seem to be an okay. Just
I say they played a great first half. They schemed them really well, making Rodgers run the ball.
And then Rodgers just slaughtered them.
Well, yeah. I mean, Rodgers did what Rodgers does, but I thought they had a good scheme for the first half. If they could have adjusted a little bit better, but
see the little
game
one
could have went their way. Crawling,
just crawling away. I'm in trouble. But yeah, they schemed him very well, and it's one of those. Just see you pull away. They just seem to get after them. And Baltimore with a great win, the last, they pull out the shocker. I just think they're going to continue to run the ball, and it'll continue to get better and better. And, Hollywood Brown looks like a pretty serviceable wide receiver. Not serviceable, but a very good wide receiver. They're throwing a little more. It's going to be fun. But, I think that Baltimore, blows them out.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good little fantasy running game for Lamar. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I think it's going to be closer than what a lot of people are thinking. They think Pittsburgh's going to get the win, but I've liked what I've seen from Burrow still, other than getting the picks from Chicago. Rough week last week with the 3 interceptions, but the offensive line has to be better. He was sacked 5 times, 9 times already this year. Jamar Chase, the 54 yards of the touchdown. That wide receiver trio looked pretty good. The offense continues to struggle for the Steelers. Big Ben hasn't looked impressive. The offensive line doesn't look good. Najee Harris with the stiff arm, which was awesome. But he's looking better. And Deontay Johnson, injury at the end of the game, he's their best wideout. So the defense was gashed, and they lose TJ Watt. So I do think I'm actually taking the Bengals in this game.
Yeah. I mean, I think if that offensive line for the Bengals can hold up a little bit better, I think that offense, with the injuries that the Steelers have, with T.J. Watt, and I think they could take it. That was mind-boggling though, having Deontay Johnson, catch that ball and have it like a nothing play at the end of the game, down 9 points. Even if you score a touchdown, it makes no sense for him to for that injury to happen for him. But I think the Bengals do edge it out too. Indianapolis at Tennessee, another 1:00 game we got on Sunday. The big thing is Carson Wentz going to play. If not, it's going to be Jacob Eastman. Taking
Eason, right?
duties. Eason. Yeah, Eason. Is the 2 wide receivers, Michael Pittman and Zach Pascal. I thought have been playing great. For Indy. I think they both have had over 100-yard games each this year so far. They've been playing great. But the running game for them has been nowhere. Jonathan Taylor has not looked like he, was last year, towards the end of the year where he was playing great. So he's got to get that kind of going. On Tennessee, great comeback win. Derrick Henry with those 3 touchdowns, freaking awesome. Monster.
He is a beast.
You have Julio Jones, having his kind of coming out party with 128 yards receiving. Played great. I thought Tannehill, came back and played strong. I'm going to go with the Titans on this. I think just Carson Wentz, probably won't play, I'm going to say. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, if Carson's out, that's going to be tough. I do like the defense. I do like the running game. Even despite Taylor having a bad year, but we'll see if Hundley or Eason. So AJ Brown also has to be, he has to get better.
Yeah.
I think he only 2 weeks he's had 17 targets, the 1 touchdown. He's their best receiver despite Julio Jones being there, and his full potential is a rock star. So he needs to get better. I did pick the Colts. That was before the not knowing if Carson was out. I'm gonna take. I'm definitely gonna take the Titans now. But Chargers at KC. This is going to be one of my favorite games to watch. I might even have this over the Jets game. Justin Herbert, obviously, he's looking awesome. Mike Williams has been a beast for them. And I saw something that I guess they're throwing to him more early in short yardage situations and then letting him make plays with the football, which they usually just try to air it out to him. So I like that a lot, and think him and Keenan Allen are a great setup duo for this. Patrick Mahomes threw his first career interception in September in week 2. The Ravens
That's
come
a crazy
back.
Stat.
So yeah, he has never lost in September other than just that. Then it's only 4 seasons, but on the spot, Chargers safety Derwin James is going to have his handful with Travis Kelce because if you noticed, he can't be stopped. So that'll be a decent matchup. Obviously, Steve Spagnuolo, and trying to stop this Chargers offense. He's never had the pieces with the KC Chiefs just because they spend more on offense than defense. But the Honey Badger's still there, and they got some pieces. I like Clark. I don't know if he's going to be back, but and then obviously their big defensive end, very good player. I'm going to pick the Chiefs still, but I think it's going to be a fun game.
I think this would be a good game too. I think you have to go with the Chiefs, like everybody else. I think the one flaw that KC might have besides the defense is make them run the ball. I haven't seen enough from CEH this year, so make them run the ball, kind of to get a page out of. Go ahead.
No, I would say just on CH, I know he's gotten some volume. He had like 15. I think he's got 80% of the running back snaps, but it's just you expected this guy coming out of college to be more of a passing down back. I think he was the first person in SEC history with 1,000 yards rushing and over 50 catches. Like, this running back is supposed to be dynamic, and they've only used him as a runner, and it's
crazy.
It's amazing for a team to pass the ball so much. Why wouldn't you just quick little dump offs and stuff? Because they do all these short yardage plays, and he just doesn't seem to be, one of the guys that they really rely on. But we go a little quicker just because I know we're going to run out of some time here. But New Orleans and New England, who do you got on this one? Anything big you like? Obviously, Jameis needs to see a little better. He was bad last week.
I think they kind of get that right. I'm going to go with the Saints on this one.
Ooh,
I know New England's, that defense is still, good, but I don't know. I think the Saints have this one.
You got Belichick playing chess with Jameis Winston, and I'm pretty sure that Belichick's going to win that battle, but we'll see. Jameis might not even be able to see his queen. Atlanta at the Giants. I got the G-Men on this one. I think New York's actually the favorite, 2.5. Arthur Smith has not had a good tenure in his career there, the first 2 games. Matt Ryan, it's not totally fair for Ryan. He's had it rough, but he's got to be better, and I just don't think he gets against this Giants defense. But I really do think he's played pretty well. The special teams basically failed them, or else they'd be 1-1. Arizona at Jacksonville. Kyler Murray has looked awesome. He's been, I think, the best quarterback in the NFL right now. Yeah, they're so much fun. And your boy, Rondale Moore, is awesome. And you look at it's funny, the height comparisons, because you figure, Rondale Moore is 5'7". He's a short guy. But then Kyler Murray's under 6 foot himself. So you have this dynamic duo
5'10", right?
that
that dynamic duo. Yeah. You're cutting out a little bit. But Rondell Moore, man, insane. It's insanely good. I think you're back now.
All right.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I say just an awesome duo. So we'll see what happens. I do think Arizona kills them though. What do you think about Jets Denver? I think the Jets are going to lose.
Yeah, I mean,
Teddy and the defense.
Another team that who would we thought would be 2-0?
2-0, yeah.
Again, they played a Giants team that's still trying to find themselves, and they played a Jaguars team too. Which I mean, the Jaguars are a dumpster fire in themselves, but the defenses looked really good. Obviously, having Chubb out, that's gonna hurt, but that offense,
good.
Yeah, they're playing really well.
Tim Patrick looks really good.
I think this is an obvious one for us.
Yeah, I'll say the other wide receiver. Why am I blanking?
Sutton,
Cortland Sutton. Thank you. He's been really good, but yeah, I think they're going to kill him. Goodbye, Zach Wilson. Probably seeing ghosts again. Miami at Vegas. I'm going to take Vegas in this one. I think Derek Carr makes it 3-0. Jacoby Brissett, obviously starting at quarterback for the Dolphins, and I don't trust any wide receiver in that group, other than maybe Waddle. Maybe he could take it to the house if he gets a 5-yard screen. But Myles Gaskin hasn't looked very good. So,
nope. Yeah, that whole offense I don't think has looked good. Funny or quick thing, do you think Derek Carr could be a potential MVP candidate?
Yeah, I think he tails off. That's the MO with the Raiders, right? Last year they start off a house on fire and then they kind of tailed off. I mean, I like Derek Carr. He's surprisingly been a very serviceable quarterback for a while. I mean, for him to be an MVP, I've never seen that from him. So I'm not going to assume that he's going to keep that up, but he's had a solid bunch of weeks and he looks really good. He honestly does. So good for him.
That 2016 year, right? That he had that was pretty good until that injury.
All right, so we'll just go. I'll say really quickly, and then we'll go. I just want to talk about the Rams, a little bit, and I also want to talk about the Sunday night game. But Seattle at Minnesota, I do think Seattle gets the win here. I do like stupid quarterback for the Vikings.
Cousins.
I do think Cousins has a very good game, especially with the wide receivers. That defense for the Seahawks, I don't think is very good. So that'll be an interesting shootout. You have anything on that one?
No, I mean I have Seattle too. I think it'll be a close game, but Seattle edges out.
Then the Monday night, Philly, Dallas. I like Philly. I think that their defense is surprisingly good. I think Dallas, even though the offense has been a lot of fun, and especially with the running back duo, I just think I think the Eagles take this one. And Hurts has been pretty good.
I'm opposite of you. I think Dallas, with the firepower of the offense, is going to take it.
Yeah, I just think Hurts has been played really well. So let's do Sunday night real fast, and then we'll go to that 4:25 game. So Green Bay at San Fran. Obviously, Aaron going to where he wanted to play football, San Francisco. He had an awesome week last week after that first half. The 4 touchdowns to Aaron Jones. This offensive line has been really good with no David Bakhtiari, and he's arguably the best left tackle in the league. They don't seem to get pressure on him other than that first game where he just had a bad game himself. But the challenge is Nick Bosa to get after that line, because if they don't, I think Green Bay is going to slaughter him. Aaron Jones has been a lot of fun. He had the 4 touchdowns. He had lost his dad's ashes on the field and then was able to find him. And then Fred Warner, who doesn't get a lot of play, in the mainstream media, but he might be the best cover linebacker in the NFL. And he is a beast tackler too. Yeah, obviously us fantasy guys playing IDP, but Robert Tonyan in the middle of that field, he could be a very good piece against Tonyan. But yeah, I mean the pack, 255 yards passing, 4 TDs. I think that, and obviously 49ers next man up with Mitchell, Hasty, Trey Sermon all injured. I think Mitchell's probably going to be the guy. Deebo Samuel's playing good. They need more from Brandon Ayuk. But yeah, can the defense play tough against Rodgers? We'll see.
Yeah,
Who do you got?
Mean,
you got your
I agree with everything. I have to go Packers. I think
your team.
Like I said, I think with all these, I think the offense just outplays the defense just a little bit more, and gets the win that way.
Yeah, I very much agree. All right, the big fun game, which I am looking forward to at that 425 spot.
Yep.
Tampa at the Rams. Tom Brady looking like the MVP that he is. This freaking guy, it's amazing. It really is. He's going to play till he's 50, and he's going to make it a point to play till he's 50.
You're going to love my trivia question then coming up.
All right, cool. But he gets a big draw with this team and this defense. Aaron Donald, obviously, he's an all-pro. He's the best defensive player in the league. It's a star-studded defense with, Jalen Ramsey. They use him all over the field. That's going to be a fun matchup against a bunch of wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, you might not have Antonio Brown. He's apparently on the COVID list, so we'll see if he makes it back, if he has the 2 negative tests. I don't know if he's vaccinated or not, whatever, but that's going to be tough. Ali Marpet, that guard for the Bucks, he's got to have his hands full with Aaron Donald. That wide receiver trio, obviously minus Brown, but just Evans and Godwin are they make Brady's life easy. Gronk has been 4 touchdowns. This guy's amazing.
Insane.
And it's funny. He gets out of New England, and now I like him. Like, he does all these stupid commercials, and he's funny.
I've always liked Gronk, even when he was on the Patriots.
I hated Gronk. He just destroys the Jets.
No, he's a big, dumb, like Labrador Retriever that just does no attention span and just follows like the ball. That's all he does. Chases the ball. That's it.
That whole thing they had this week about him not watching tape. It was like a big thing that, he doesn't watch any tape, and then he had to come out and say, he watches a lot of tape, and his girlfriend hates it and all this stuff. But and then you look on the other side of that offense, right, AJ? And Matt Stafford has been awesome for this team.
Yep.
And Cooper Kupp with another beastly game. I think he's the best wide receiver in football. Stats-wise. I wouldn't say talent, but stats-wise. Yeah. The Rams, Colts. Go ahead. No, please go ahead.
So you've used so many weapons, on that side of the ball too, which is crazy.
Woods, who I haven't even heard about recently.
I mean, Tyler Higbee, I feel like he, is under the radar as a tight end. And then the backfield, Darrell Henderson's, had a pretty good season so far. He's a pretty good running back. He's just behind Cam Akers, in that, before Akers had the injury. But that's a great offense there too. I think the Rams defense is better than the Bucks defense. The Bucks defense I don't think has shown up really in the previous 2 games. They've given up a lot of points. They had the 2 turnovers at the end of the last game against Atlanta, but those were dumpy pick sixes that had nothing to do with the score. So I mean, I think the Rams take it. I think we're gonna see this matchup again. That's the only thing that scares me is if they do see, I think whatever team wins this, they're gonna, if they do meet up in the NFC Championship game, the other team's gonna win it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's really right. It's whoever has the ball last, I think, is gonna be the winner for this game. I just think that's how it's gonna be. I guess we'll bring in Mr. Wu soon, and we'll do some trivia. But I'm really looking forward to the games, the slate this week, and it's gonna be a fun football week, other than watching the Jets.
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
Trivia.
All right, so Bill, I know you're gonna love this question. On this day 20 years ago, Mo Lewis hit Patriots quarterback Drew Bledsoe in the 4th quarter.
I hate you.
Bledsoe is knocked out of the game, and in steps in, obviously, 6th-round pick, Tom Brady. We all know the rest of the story here. In his 20s, so from 2000 to 2006, Brady amassed 147 throwing touchdowns. He also had 3 rushing touchdowns. Can you tell me how many throwing TDs he has thrown in his 40s from 2017 to 2021, or 5 seasons?
I don't actually know the amount, but I know it's been more than what he's had in his 20s. I want to say it's close to 200.
Now, Sam, got a guess?
I'll say 200.
236.
All right, so he's not over. He's a little bit behind. So he's got 134 touchdowns as of this season. 142 total, including he's had like 7 rushing touchdowns in the past 5 seasons, which is ridiculous to me.
He just creepy sneaks. He always gets like his end of the season total will be like 5 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, and you'll be like, what the?
Yeah. So he'll break that record though. He'll have more touchdowns in his 40s than his 20s. So yeah.
Yep. Fire Woody.
Well, that's it, guys. This is Football Primetime.